Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for April the 6th, 2022. We may have a quick meeting today. As usual, we're going to get started with a demo. I would ask Brooks to share his screen, but I don't think he has rights to.
I checked. I just like watching you realize it live.
No.
Okay, yeah, let me do the thing. Okay. So today is going to be a relatively quick, just kind of talking through a demo, but it's a significant improvement that was really causing some pain, at least for us as Wasm Cloud developers for a little while. So going back, this isn't quite on main. This is just one commit before main since we got it merged in. If you look at the wasmCloud host folder, which is a Phoenix application, so it uses both Elixir and Phoenix Live View to give like the dashboard view, and then underlying there's also our Rust functions for things like generating nats in keys and things like that. So from the base level, when you're looking at this host, when you build the application, you're going to need an Elixir toolchain and you're going to need a Rust toolchain to build both of those, both the parts of our project. Something that really frustrated us for a while is with Phoenix, I think it's 1.59 or 1.5.9, whichever one, it used npm dependencies. So it's not like because we're using live view, we got to fully escape JavaScript and CSS things with web development. So in order to actually build the project, you needed a node slash npm installation to install like the static assets. So, as part of our installation process, you had to install the assets that you need for the server. And even from our CI/CD perspective, this was taking like an additional step. You needed to install Node, specifically Node 14. That was the one that worked. And for our ARM builds, you also needed to install Python. This was due to, I think, Node SAS, um, some dependency there needed Python 2.7 to cross compile to ARM. So in order to build our Elixir and Rust application, you also needed Python and Node. And that really irked us from a developer perspective. But thankfully, with Phoenix 1.6, what we have is the ability to, instead of use npm, use esbuild. So if we go to main under Wasm Cloud host, you'll notice now we've kind of updated our prerequisites. You don't need to you don't need to install Node anymore. This removes the need for you to install Python into the container where you're building for ARM. And we also have a new make rule called make esbuild. This is just, we basically take the esbuild binary and stick it under a mixed dependency so that, again, you don't have to install additional things other than just Elixir and a Rust toolchain. And this little esbuild rule will use the SAS compiler to compile our static CSS and JavaScript files, and then place them into a directory where the Wasm Cloud host can find it. So again, this isn't really too much of a demo. I will show you just for fun that little make esbuild rule. So now when you build the host, all you need to do is do make build, which will build the Elixir and Rust dependencies, and run make esbuild, which will end up compiling the static assets and placing them in priv static. So this is something that actually ended up dropping our container size by a megabyte, which is cool. And it also speeds up our CI to release Wasm Cloud hosts. But most importantly now, if you're looking at developing Wasm Cloud or on the Wasm Cloud host, you don't have to install a bunch of extra language toolchains just to work in Elixir and Rust. So we're pretty excited about this. This was on our things that annoy you every day backlog for a while. So we're pretty happy to get that done. And if anybody else is using a Phoenix application and is interested in upgrading from a pre 1.6 or 1.60, I keep forgetting, the process was actually fairly simple, even though we're using like some custom JavaScript, a JavaScript library to like do the layout of our Wasm Cloud host. It wasn't too bad. Please, you feel free to hit me up in Slack. I can give you they wrote a great migration guide to go from npm to esbuild. So yeah, that is pretty much all I had for the demo today. Anybody have any questions about this or like what the migration process was like? If not, then I will take the shared excitement to uh, kill Node out of our backend project.
Great work, Brooks. I think you're actually up next for community callouts. Do you maybe want to share any community callouts you have for today?
Sure. So I'll go ahead and hand off to Brooks. Hey guys, I'm doing the community callouts. Uh, so gotta keep it interesting. So I have three community callouts this week. They're all focused around the host. And now that you don't even need to install Node or Python or anything to get this working, it should be easier than ever to contribute to the wasmCloud OTP host. And I know that some people were asking in the community Slack this morning on good places to start contributing. So every week we try to do this community call out section. I picked out 3 for today. They're all bugs, and you can find them under the good first issue label. So the first one here is around link definitions. When you try and overwrite an existing link definition, providers are specifically coded in WASM-Bus RPC. You don't actually have to do this directly in your provider code. They're coded to ignore duplicate link definitions. And this is so that link definitions can be idempotent and we can establish them without, or we can reestablish them without worrying about overwriting old link definitions. But it turns out in the host, for a specific scenario described in this issue, we can actually ignore a duplicate link definition on the provider side, but then overwrite it in the host cache. So this is something that can cause confusion and is really an easy scenario to catch. If a link definition exists, don't overwrite it in the local cache. So this would be a great place to start. The next one is semi-related to a bug that we found in Wash. It's that the dashboard, when you're establishing a link definition, it can't handle base64 config. Base64 encoded values, like you can see here, generally end with like a double equal sign, or I mean, at least it happens sometimes. And the way that we do the values splitting in the washboard is by splitting on an equal sign. So when you do this, you end up getting config base64, this value, and then 2 empty values. So really what we need here, if you look at these few lines of code, our splitting logic here is a little naive. What we really need is a more intelligent way to split these values. And instead of maybe chunking every 2, like only taking the first one so that you just get the base64 value, this would be something that anyone who's dealt with parsing base64 or touch stuff like this will be able to take a poke at. It's a small little contained section of code. So great place to start. And then the last one is when we write the host config, which is every time we launch the host with new parameters, whether it's from environment variables or explicitly providing things in the host config, we write out to a JSON file. So when you launch a new host, it automatically connects to the lattice that you configured last. This is actually a really simple rename that would have a big impact. We write that value out to RPC_timeout, and we should be writing it out to RPC_timeout_MS. So just a little naming issue. Again, these are things that are like really quick, great way to contribute your first thing, and will certainly take, this would certainly help with defining an RPC timeout across multiple hosts in the same lattice. So that is the community call out. It's all about the host and getting some small Elixir things in today. As usual, I will put these in the community Slack for people to pick up, and then we'll tweet them out a little bit after this meeting. Yeah, just to wrap this up, if anybody has any questions about these community callouts or about these issues right now, if you're interested, I can answer any questions. If you want to take a stab at it, feel free to just leave a comment on the issue and say that you're interested in taking a look at it.
That's great, Brooks. Thank you so much. Open floor for any sort of call outs from the community today or any discussion topics, questions, proposals, anything along those lines? Okay. I think we may wrap this one up a little early today, folks. As usual, I'll go and stop recording, and we can. Oh, Stuart, go ahead.
Sorry. Before you do, just a quick call out. So 2 weeks today, we're doing another event at Red Badger, which is We Love Nats. I don't know if you remember 2 months ago, probably. Brooks and Taylor kindly spoke at an event about We Love WebAssembly. And we wanted to do a special one about Nats because it's obviously a really important underlying foundational technology, both in wasmCloud and generally for like distributed applications. So we've got some. We've got actually Derek Collison, the founder of Synodia, flying over to speak in person in the room, which is great. And we've also got speakers from Form3 and FleetCore. I'll stick a link in the chat if anybody wants to. It's a hybrid event, so same as last time, attend virtually. So if anybody wants to jump in from this meeting into that one afterwards, more than welcome. And yes, actually, I'd love for you to come over, but this will happen, I promise you. And I'll put a link in the wasmCloud Slack as well. So feel free to join us. It should be good. Thanks.
Wonderful, Stuart. Thank you so much. And we've got the link here. I'll go ahead and make sure that we get this sent out on our Twitter today and all of our socials and all those things amazing. As well. Fantastic. Anything we can do to help. We love the community, and you put on a lot of great stuff. And you're a huge proponent of wasmCloud. So anything we can do to help is always helpful. Any other call-outs or any other topics people want to raise today? Okay, I'll go stop recording. We can hang out a bit. Cheers.